Mark Day in Lubbock, Texas. Imagine your favorite team bracing for the biggest showdown in school history against a hated in-state rival just after sundown. The Red Raider Nation has never been larger, never been louder. Tonight, a long-awaited chance where respect can be earned. The two triggermen, both Texas natives, Colt McCoy for the Longhorns and Graham Harrell for the Red Raiders. In Jacksonville, another big showdown in the SEC. Mr. Heisman, Tim Tebow, taking it personally against Matthew Stafford and the Dogs of Georgia. Welcome to November, crazy season in college football, and there's no place crazier than West Texas today as College Game Day comes to the Hub City for the first time.
ESPN College Game Day. Yeah, we're coming to your city. Well, we're coming to your city. Well, we flew through Oklahoma, Alabama, and through Georgia, trying to get on down to Florida for the game. And then we loaded up our tailgate, joined a convoy on the freeway, headed north to see them Buckeyes of Notre Dame. Victory for USC, dogs barking at the Wolverine. Hook 'em horns and give me that Rocky Top Tennessee.
32 down, set. Cause up football, you know what's next. Got it locked on ESPN. Tell your family and friends, cause Fowler, Corso, Desmond, and Herb Street got the lowdown on the rivalries. Buckle your chin strap and ready to play. It's time to kick College Game Day.
To your city. If you want a little zing in your zang zang. If you want a little zing in your zang zang. Come along. Yeah, we're coming to your city.
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot, proud sponsor of college football's premier pregame show.
And welcome to the cotton-growing country, the prairie of West Texas, where, as they say, wind and dust build character, and there are very few trees to obscure the view. And now, riding out of the north, the masked rider, Ashley, aboard the Midnight Matador. Where was she at the Breeders' Cup last week? They've been getting ready since Monday, fellas. This is Raiderville, the tent city outside the stadium. A full week of camping in preparation. And you get the feeling very few hours of sleep for these folks last night. They've waited for this day. And here come the hated burnt orange wearing Texas Longhorns. Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, Kurt Herbstreit, Desmond Howard's going to join us. Darrell Clark of Penn State's going to phone in. And then, at the end of the show, the General, Bob Knight, will sit right here and join us for the pick segment. See if he can do better than LeBron James and Kenny Chesney. You've both done very well. Congratulations for getting here, guys.
I'm telling you,
Lubbock.
let me tell you something. In 13 years we've been on the road. This is the most and best signs ever.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it is. Look at that.
They're everywhere.
Can you believe that?
It's a sea of signs. Man, we're setting up camp in a Big 12. We've become like the voice of the Longhorns 3 of the last 4 weeks.
Well, they beat
Big
Oklahoma.
12,
They beat Missouri. They beat Oklahoma State, now trying to make history, a 4th straight top 12 opponent.
Yep.
It's
Be
the
tough.
biggest state on the land market. It's all happening right here in Texas. Let's orient you down here. You probably know where Dallas and Houston and San Antonio are. From Austin to Lubbock, it's about 380 miles. But it's a bigger distance culturally. Trust us. So for this showdown, you got the triggerman. You got Colt McCoy, who did have a couple of turnovers, but was clutch enough against the Cowboys in the win last week. Jordan Shipley, his buddy, very confident, the slot receiver for Texas. They put 59 on the Red Raiders a year ago. But Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree hook it up. He's having a brilliant sophomore season. And the elf, Eric Morris, has been an effective weapon. And the Red Raiders say their defense is much improved. Darcel McBath, the natural interception hat trick at Kansas. Can any defense get enough stops to win this game? Look at the power.
Oh, man.
Of these two
Unbelievable.
offenses. Look at the 3 and outs, only 7 all year for Texas Tech. All year. Third down percentage is brilliant. So we're going to find out which defense can step up tonight. Now, Lisa Salters has more on the Texas side of the thing. Mac Brown's motivational ploys this week. Lisa?
Well, Chris, you know that Mac Brown is known for his motivational methods. He's calling tonight's showdown the battle in the desert. And this week at practice, he brought in a group of Marines to talk to players about surviving in hostile situations. The Marines showed a video about how they went into battle in Kosovo and Iraq and told the Longhorns that their mission is to come here to Lubbock and to win. I asked Colt McCoy what he thought about the presentation, and he said simply, it was awesome. I also asked Colt how many points that he thought he needed to put up on the board to outlast Texas Tech, and he said, you saw what they did against Kansas last week. These guys are for real. I think we need to score every time we get the ball. Chris?
Well, Lisa, Mac Brown's been able to push all the right buttons, but these folks believe that Texas Tech has all the intangibles that differ from Red Raider teams in the past. Meanwhile, the Dogs and Gators mix it up in Jacksonville at the cocktail party. They're both in the top 10 for the first time since '99. Both teams have roared back. Matthew Stafford lit up LSU. A.J. Green having a brilliant freshman season, the top SEC receiver in yards. But have you noticed that since their loss, the Gators offense has gotten it cranked up? Urban Meyer's team taking it very personally after the embarrassing loss to Georgia, the mandated by Mark Richt celebration. That's still Meyer's only loss to one of the Gators' 3 biggest rivals. Florida has still dominated the rivalry in recent years. Georgia is ranked a little bit higher in the BCS standings, which is interesting, but forget the style points. This is all about the rivalry, bragging rights, and it is very personal. Shelley Smith now checks in from Jacksonville for the build-up down there. Shelley?
Chris, 2 Florida staff members told me that during the offseason, strength coach Mickey Marotti posted photos of the celebration all over the weight room and reminded players daily of how Georgia showed them up. And he had the defensive players do 188 push-ups every day, 1 for each yard Noshawn Moreno gained against them last year. And if you think these Gators aren't bent on revenge in a series that until last year they pretty much dominated, consider the movie they watched on the bus on the 90-minute trip here from Gainesville, Muhammad Ali's When We Were Kings. Chris?
All right, Shelley, thank you. Great build-up down there. We'll hear from Meyer and Richt and Tebow a little bit later on in the show. We'll hear from both sides of this rivalry. 2 big showdowns in the 2 most powerful conferences in the country today. What's at stake for you?
Well, I'm going to look at the game in Jacksonville, Florida and Georgia. You look at what's at stake, in my opinion, in this game. There's a lot at stake. This is very exciting because it's not just the fact that both these teams are trying to get to Atlanta to the SEC title game. That's number 1. Both teams trying to stay alive for the national championship, but pride is on the line. Remember, Florida used to dominate this series, 13 of 14, and Lee in the last 4, as you just saw in the graphic, 2-2. You throw in the emotion of Florida being upset with Georgia's celebration. Pride is on the line. Forget championships. It's about pride today in Jacksonville.
And I live in Orlando, Florida, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, let's get back to this game now. Because of the rest of the schedule is manageable, this is Texas' shot at the national title game. They've got to win this one. On the other side of the ball, if Texas Tech wins it, not so fast, my friends. They still got to play Oklahoma State and Oklahoma in a Big 12 title game. So the pressure is squarely on Texas. They've got to win this game if they want to take a shot at the national title.
And they're going to have to dig deep physically and emotionally what they've been through the last few weeks. You're right. The Red Raiders just beginning their gauntlet. We've heard the same thing wherever we go for 20 years, and we hear it there this weekend. Give us some respect. No.
Win.
No. Respect isn't given. Respect is earned. And Texas Tech has a chance tonight to earn all that respect.
That's right in front of them.
Texas is a favorite, but if you follow these sort of things, some support's been going towards Texas Tech. And look at America's vote. 52% of you out there, and there have been a lot of votes, believe the Red Raiders will take down the Longhorns here tonight. Earn that respect.
We don't know how accurate polls are these days, do we?
We'll find out Tuesday, my friend. We'll talk politics later on. Don't you worry about it. There's lots of campaigning going on here for the Heisman Trophy, by the way. McCoy's the front runner. His fishing buddy, Jordan Shipley. We'll hear from both those guys. That'll get a boo out of the crowd here. Plus, sibling rivalry kept sacred. How a Nebraska star refuses to let gang violence win. And later on, make way for the General. Bob Knight will show up for his picks, and he's taking it very, very seriously.
Here comes the ready or not.
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot. You can do it. We can help. And in part by Hummer, like nothing else.
No coach has a more interesting office than Mike Leach here in Lubbock. The man is a history buff. He's fascinated with the history of pirates. He once lectured his team for 3 hours on the history of pirates. Love the stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of history here in Lubbock in music as well. This is the birthplace of the great Buddy Holly back in 1936. Technically only lived till 22. John Denver went to school here, but he was a dropout. The Dixie Chicks, Natalie Maines, born in Lubbock in 74. Zach Thomas of the Cowboys, and of course Cheryl Swoops led the Red Raiders to an NCAA title, Player of the Year in 1993. So a lot of history, music, sports, pirates.
Got it all.
Leach's office is amazing. The guy is one of the true characters in coaching. We love him. Oh. Meanwhile, number 2, Alabama has a very interesting game today. If you recall, it was the Sun Belt Conference in Louisiana Monroe that dealt Nick Saban and the program, really, perhaps its most embarrassing loss ever. I mean, Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks went in there. Alabama lost 3 in a row at home. It was stunning. It was unbelievable. So today, here comes another team from the Sun Belt, the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. And they're not taking anything for granted, even though they smacked around Tennessee. Just remember this game, folks. Crimson Tide players are, because next week, another team from the state of Louisiana, folks from Baton Rouge. Alabama plays a visit, Saban's first visit back there, and you know the significance of the subplots are going to be as thick and meaty and spicy as the tailgater's jambalaya down there. But today's business, now is Coach Nick rallying his guys with thoughts of paying back the whole Sun Belt Conference and impressing the pollsters with style points? Not exactly.
We're not concerned about that. We're not concerned about the rankings and the ratings, and we want our team to play the best football that they can play. We'd like to get our players individually to play to their capacity, as well as our team, to play with consistency and to their capacity, and to focus on improving and playing with consistency. And I think those are the things that we can control, and those are the things that we focus on and want to try to do.
Tide haven't always handled inferior opponents that efficiently this season. But next week, LSU, remember, they haven't beaten LSU since 2002. It was a 31-zip beatdown when Sean Alexander went off that year. Mississippi State, they've lost to them the last couple of years, and then Auburn. They haven't beaten the Tigers since 2001, so it's a different Alabama team. It's a different Auburn team, frankly, this year. And then, of course, that SEC championship game, Alabama would be an underdog against either Florida or Georgia and Atlanta on that fast rug. Are they equipped to navigate that schedule?
Absolutely. And I tell you why, Alabama's winning like it's the 1960s when Bear Bryant was their coach. First thing they do is stuff the run. They're very good at it. Number 2 in the nation is stuffing the run. And listen to this, only 1 rushing touchdown against Alabama all year. Then they run the football. Alabama's running backs are averaging over 5 yards per carry, the entire group. And then they have a guy that can kick it, Lee Tiffin. He's had 32 field goals, as long as his 54 yards. They will not stumble. This is a well-coached football team. Solid. Win big today.
Yeah, I don't think that you look at this team, there's no question they're equipped to make a run and eventually win all their games. Will they at the end of the day? I don't think so. I think Florida in the SEC championship game will eventually get Alabama. And the reason I feel that way, Alabama's a great team, solid on defense, tough to run the football on. Offensively, they've dominated everybody up front. They've been able to establish the run. Against LSU and Baton Rouge, where the emotions will be high, I wonder, will they be able to run the football? Can anybody stop them from running? And then in the SEC title, if they get there, again, you have to be two-dimensional. You cannot just simply run the football and rely on beating the great teams in the country. And so far, through this point of the season, they've been able to just say, you know it's coming. We're still going to run the ball. In Baton Rouge and in Atlanta, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that.
Wouldn't it be interesting if they played Georgia again
for
the SEC title?
Yeah, that could happen.
Different Georgia team.
I tell you what, the LSU defense next week, they have a lot to prove. They've been embarrassed in a couple of games, giving up 50-plus twice. I'm not going to ask you to make a pick about that game just yet, but it will be emotional down there. LSU hosting Tulane today. Meanwhile, Tennessee fortunate to be in the road because the crowd in Columbia probably less hostile than Neyland Stadium would be for old Philip Fulmer. The guys in the pumpkin-colored unis getting smashed lately. Spurrier is taking no public pleasure in his old rival's pain because the ball coach's own offense has been very painful. I mean, Garcia and company did nothing in the second half against LSU. They are minus 19 in sack differential. That is awful. 61 plays for negative yardage by South Carolina. Now, for Fulmer and company, they're talking the talk. You see the ugly numbers, the poor record against quality teams, the poor record lately against rivals, very mediocre in the SEC games. They're talking the talk. They're saying we're still fighting. But I don't know. I mean, has Fulmer lost the team? Can they finally cash in on some turnovers, be efficient? Because Gamecocks will give you chances. They'll give you chances to make plays. I don't know about Tennessee, though.
I think I got to look at this Tennessee program. And when I first started on College Game Day, going way back into the mid-'90s, Tennessee was the USC of college football. They recruited anybody that they wanted. They had great character and great success. That success equaled NFL players, first-round players. Then the next wave of players came in, and their focus was the NFL. And I really question the fabric and the foundation of this program and the focus of this program for about the last 7 or 8 years. Since Kelly Washington's era went through Knoxville, I think Tennessee has had some good talent, but they've not had good teams. There's a difference between having great talent and great teams. They are not great. They are not the kind of team that you think of when you think of Al Wilson, Peyton Manning, T. Martin. They don't have those kind of character guys now.
Well, you know, the pressure of this football team, and I'm going to use your word, their offense is anemic. Terrible. They only score 18 points a game. So when the offense struggles, then the defense puts the pressure on the defense and they crack. And after they crack, the pressure goes to the coaching staff. And then they start coaching scared. And when you coach scared to save your job, you lose. That's what happens to them. It's a vicious circle. Vicious circle continues today. They lose to South Carolina by a field goal. They're not going to beat South Carolina.
Maybe it's another 3-2 game in the SEC with these two offenses. Interesting note, Ellis Johnson, defensive coordinator for South Carolina, very good defensive coordinator, signed a contract extension this week. Takes him through 2011. That's not a normal thing for a coordinator to sign on a long-term contract extension. You have to wonder what the significance is there. Meanwhile, Arkansas in the SEC hosts Tulsa. Big game. We'll talk about that one. And Pickett coming up later on. Intriguing game for the Golden Hurricanes. Coming up on Game Day. Move over, Obama and McCain. A Heisman campaign video from Texas Tech. You do not want to miss. It's good humor. And with this scene from last year fresh in the minds of the Gators, how nasty it's going to get in Jacksonville. What do these teams have to say about all this stuff?
My reaction to last year's Georgia game is no comment.
It's old news. It happened last year, and I've responded to it.
I really have no comment on that right now.
This telecast is available in high definition. Brought to you by Pioneer's new Kuro.
Mr. Corso on the left there, I like that stuff. You praise the signs when they are indeed creative here.
LC working the grill there.
Best signs ever.
This is the engineering key. Hardy campus, just a short way from the stadium. It'll be packed tonight. Toughest ticket ever in Red Raider history. And why not with #1 in town? Never beaten the #1 team in this program's history. But in the state of Texas, there's another big showdown between top 10 teams. Division III, Trinity and Millsap. Remember this game? All the crazy laterals at the end of the game. Trinity from San Antonio went down to Mississippi and lateral it, 15 times and got the win. One of the great calls ever on radio.
It's a lateral, and Curry's still going.
No way!
Curry's
No way!
It's a touchdown!
It's a touchdown!
Curry scores! The game is over! Curry scores! Curry scores on the lateral! Curry scores! The Tigers lateraled it and kept lateraling, and the game is over. The Tigers win! The Tigers win! The Tigers lateral it and keep lateraling it, and they score!
It's worth trying that every year. The Tigers of Trinity ranked #7. Millsap's College ranked they're 8. Millsap's is #7, a big showdown. If I were to ask you which conference had 10 teams with winning records, that's the most, has had 7 different teams ranked this year, is 11-7 in other BCS conferences, would you know it?
Nope. You got money? You going to put up on the table?
No, because I think you...
ACC, maybe?
You went to rehearsal, you know it's the ACC. We're going to show you, because in the ACC, every game counts, because no team is really dominant or consistent enough to be good every year. So Florida State and Georgia Tech will get on in Atlanta here, and the Noles take the #3 ranked defense in the country to Atlanta, and the Canes visit Georgia. try to pay back the Cavs. That was an all-time embarrassment last year.
Yeah, I mean,
48-0.
Miami is a team that I think is, again, it's about building consistency, and that's what they're trying to do. They were able to get back on track last week. Robert Marv will play today. He's got a leg injury. He'll try to fight through. But how about Virginia? One of the great turnaround stories this year. Defense is playing well, running the football, physical with Cedric Pierman. Keep an eye on this game. This should be a classic and go a long way in determining who wins the ACC.
And how about Clemson at Boston College? BC lost to North Carolina last week, but quarterback Chris Crane threw the ball very well, over 200 yards passing. Now, BC led 10-0 in North Carolina, but they let the Tar Heels off the hook. Not today, sweethearts. They jump on Clemson really early and win by 2 touchdowns.
LC, your beloved Knowles, best in the nation on third down, best in red zone defense, assignment football today against the option. Just throw it up, let Greg Carr make a catch. That's been the offense lately. They haven't been that productive, but haven't needed to be with that defense that good. Now, the Jackets can play a little defense, too. 76 tackles for loss, 14 picks, down and dirty defense in the dirty. And the Knowles offense is banged up. Antone Smith is playing hurt. Preston Parker has a deep thigh bruise. He's missed some practice. Corey Surensey is suspended there. You called it a classic, Miami and Virginia?
This year in the ACC,
are there any classics?
Every game is a classic in the ACC.
Are the Knowles for real? I mean, are we to believe now this young team is coming of age and finally might emerge as the cream of the crop of the conference?
Well, let me tell you why I think they are. Okay. First of all, it's a very important point. This year, they're winning because they're keeping their cool. Very important. They've won the last 2 ball games after trailing by at least 10 points. You understand me? They come from behind. It'll happen today, Kirk. Georgia Tech jumps ahead, but here comes the Knowles with a rally. Florida State upsets Georgia Tech in Atlanta.
Yeah, you think about that. How good is Florida State? And I think about it some more, and I think, well, they look great right now. And Lee's right. They've kept their cool. Christian Ponder right now protecting the football, hasn't thrown an interception now in the last 2 games. Their defense looks like the old Knowles defense, getting into the backfield, attacking, 22 sacks, 3rd in the nation in total defense. Then you start to go back and you look about who have they played. and I just keep getting into that. Who have they played? They beat Miami. I mean, they got in a shootout with Miami. And I'm just not ready to say the old Knowles are back yet.
No,
I don't feel that just quite yet.
Who are they going to play, though, in this league? I mean, everybody's the same, right? I mean,
did they beat Virginia Tech?
I don't feel
you guys are
that
going to pick
Peter
some
Buller
of these games. You're going to roll the dice and try to pick some of these games later on in the ACC.
Yeah, that's what
yes,
we are. No idea. You got no idea.
Well, coming up, talk about the Red Raiders, of course. Harold and Crabtree get all the ink, but we'll talk about the guys up front who protect him, the big and colorful offensive line. You won't forget this bunch soon.
Stephen Hamby, he is definitely Mr. Incredible. Marlon Wynn is Fat Albert. Brandon Carter is Mankind, the wrestler. Sometimes it kind of freaks me out. Not gonna lie.
Welcome back to Lubbock, Tessa, the biggest game in Red Raider history tonight, and all the color and pageantry of Texas Tech football on hand here. We thank the band for showing up. Now, in Lubbock this week, it's very easy to forget that there is a world outside the Big 12 South, and with the election just 3 days away, election that's been labeled as pivotal and historic by both campaigns, the college age turnout is expected to be up. But how clued in are these college football players? How dialed in are they with all the time they have to spend on football? And think that these, presidential campaigns have gotten negative and nasty and personal. Listen to the messages from the Heisman candidates right here in Lubbock.
Underutilized receivers are a problem in this country. Graham Harrell promises to keep receivers busy. Vote Harrell in 2008. Footballs hitting the ground are a serious problem. Michael Crabtree is proven to be tough on incompletions. He hates them.
Recently, there's been a lot of talk about wide receiver Michael Crabtree.
It seems that everybody is talking about Graham Harrell.
I ask you to consider one thing this election season. How do those footballs get in the air?
It comes down to your vote. I have to ask you something. What happens if I don't grab the ball out the air?
Footballs don't just magically fly through the air.
Footballs don't magically fly.
They don't. It's science.
And in completion, the clock stops. Nobody wants that.
Nobody.
Think of the footballs.
I'm Graham Harrell.
I'm Michael Crabtree, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the You Choose 2008 committee.
Drew Gate Patriots here.
That was good.
Who's on top of the ticket, though? Crabtree or Harrell, or is it flipped? It depends on who you ask around here.
Depends what happens tonight.
Hey, whatever. Look at the numbers that this offense has put up. It's pretty scary. First in pass yards per game. They're running the ball a little bit better than they have. 52 offensive touchdowns and an amazing 7 3-and-outs. They score more than half of their drives, 52.4%. But the offensive prowess for this team really begins up front with the big uglies. Mike Leach told me that Texas Tech majors in pass protection. It's the highest priority in the offense, and Graham Harrell's been sacked just 3 times. They've allowed just 22 negative yardage plays. That is amazing, fewest in the nation. And they're also protecting well enough that Harrell can throw downfield many more long plays than Mike Leach is used to in his offense. Now, Texas comes after you. 29 sacks is second in the nation. Brian Arakpo, he calls himself that weight room monster, but protecting Harrell, 5 guys who consider themselves superheroes.
My name is Rylan Reed, R-Y-L-A-N, not to be confused with Ryan. 6'7", 310 pounds, offensive lineman. I'm 26 years old. They call me Pops, you know. I'm older than most of the offensive coaches, so it's kind of awkward at times.
This line averages 6'6", the weight 339 pounds.
And they call me the Incredible Hulk.
Well, he likes to take his shirt off, you know.
My mother's gonna be so disappointed. I broke the school bench press record with 625 pounds. From then on, I've been a superhero in people's minds. Our offensive line is special because we all have different personalities and we all carry a nickname.
You got the Incredible Hulk, Mr. Incredible, Mankind, and Fat Albert.
Marlon Wynn is Fat Albert. Kind of looks like Fat Albert a little bit. Brandon Carter is Mankind, the wrestler.
He can just roll right out of the game into a Halloween party.
He wanted to be a wrestler all growing up. He tries wrestling moves on all the smaller kids in the locker room. If you talk down about wrestling, that's the fastest way to make him mad.
Hey, here we go, man. Let's talk it down.
He takes pride in doing the makeup different each week, and sometimes, you know, it kind of freaks me out. Luis Vasquez calls himself the Burrito Tower. Stephen Hamby, he is definitely Mr. Incredible. They say with no hair and no beard, he looks just like him.
Here's Bench with blockers in front. They are a machine offensively.
We work together, and we have a real special bond. And I'd only give up a couple sacks. That's a great achievement.
Look at that time that he has to throw.
We take pride in making sure that Graham Harrell's the most protected quarterback in the nation. I'm Rylan Reed, and this is my world.
They love their big uglies here. Rylan Reed is that's scary stuff in the weight room. There's some different dudes on this team. I mean, you go to practice, you find those big offensive linemen practicing with no shirts, big old bellies hanging out there.
Strong.
But the Texas defensive coordinator, Will Muschamp, has noticed that Tex only allowed 3 sacks all year. His response, Oklahoma State had allowed 5 sacks all year. The Longhorns got him for 5 last week. So he's not all that impressed.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about Texas Tech's offense. It's based on a third. It's really sound. They spread the field, and they make the defense defend the width and depth of the field. Then they come out and throw it all the way around. It's like fast break basketball on grass, and that's what they do. But Kirk is an important point. It's not only the pass this year.
Yeah.
This is a running football team now. It's the best running attack Mike Leach has ever had here at Tech. They're balanced. That's what's going to be tough for them to stop.
Yeah, it really forces defenses to respect that aspect of it. You know, you turn on television every Saturday, you see some form of the spread offense. And Mike Leach has been doing this for years. And Lee's right. He does spread the field horizontally, and he does throw the ball downfield, which is unique. But the thing that separates him, in my mind, is he does a great job of using everybody on the field. Here's the Home Depot playbook. And everybody does this. The big splits up front. Missouri does this. Keeps the defense, makes it a lot tougher to get to Graham Harrell. Now, this is the thing that Mike Leach does such a good job of, the spacing of the receivers. He'll put something in front of the linebackers and safeties and make them bite up on that. And then Graham Harrell, who has a great understanding of this offense, gets it downfield and finds Michael Crabtree. Now, you think Texas may play some man because they have great athletic ability. Watch the 2 players from Kansas State. A scissors route underneath, man coverage. Watch what happens to the 2 defenders as they try to stay with the receivers. They rub each other. Next thing you know, wide open wide receiver, so they take care of man coverage. And as Lee just talked about, it's not just a running game. The jailbreak screen. Michael Crabtree make you respect this aspect as well, which slows down the pass rush and makes that defense continue to run and run. Now, this week I talked to Mike Stoops, who was the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma when they played very well against Texas Tech. He liked this offense so much, he brought in Sonny Dykes from Texas Tech. I talked with Will Muschamp, and they all talk about the same thing. The thing that's unique about Texas Tech is they run their offense, and they don't care what defense you happen to be playing. They don't make adjustments. They do what they do, and they just feel that they'll out-execute you for 60 minutes. That's different from almost anybody else. They're going to do what they do, and they could care less.
And it's a sight adjust.
Yeah.
They see something, the guys make after the ball is snapped. That's what they're good at, aren't they?
No, it's not a complex offense in the classic definition. There aren't a whole bunch of plays. The playbook's very thin, right? Just a couple of routes, but they do it so well, and they adjust so well.
And because they do it so much, it's repetition, repetition, repetition. They find the soft spot in the zone. Against man, they run away from it. So and the timing of it is as good as you're going to see in the country.
Coached.
You love that stuff.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
We'll have a lot more in the game plans for both sides as we come back. Texas Tech scores a bunch of touchdowns. Matt Williams kicks PATs. He came out of the crowd as a contest winner. We're going to have our own little contest. Is this guy the next Matt Williams? We'll find out over on the demo field. Guess what else we got coming up?
Hey, Commish, coming up, we will have Penn State's quarterback, Darryl Clark, joining us live. Should be a nice treat for you Nittany Lions fans out there. And then the fellas and I, we're going to have a little debate about Penn State's BCS championship hopes and if they really deserve to be ranked number 3 in the country. Should be a very interesting conversation.
Kirk and I have teamed up with AT&T to bring you Confessions of a College Football Junkie. Each week we tackle different topics. This week we break down the past guest pickers of college football. We'll also look ahead of the best football movies of all time.
I love that.
It's going to be a good time. Have a little fun with that one. Navigate to CV and check us out. Available only in your AT&T wireless phone. Only in Lubbock, Texas, is a guy named Matt Williams come out of the crowd, make a 30-yard field goal for a contest and win free rent, and then have Mike Leach sign him up because they had kicking issues here. Leach called him over and said, have you ever kicked before? And he said, yeah, in Division II. Come on to the team, go to Lawrence, Kansas, and last week go 9 for 9 kicking PATs for an undefeated team. Only Mike Leach would give this guy the opportunity. Fantastic. So in that spirit, we look for the next Matt Williams. Is it Corey Manross, a sophomore exercise and sports science major from Perrytown, Texas, over on the demo field? It's an 18-yard PAT. He's given gums up. Free kick. He's cocky. Out of the hold of Darren Brown. Chris, this is your moment. Go for it, big guy.
Darren, don't blow it.
Don't blow it.
Oh, he wants the crowd noise.
Oh.
Just make it a good hold over there,
I
will
say
you?
he makes it. It was the hold.
It was the hold.
Wow. The pressure gets to him. No free rent, no spot in the team, nothing but embarrassment on national television.
Bad hold.
Bad hold.
Blaming the hold.
It's harder to look, It's tougher to look.
That's why it's not that easy to do what Matt said. Come out of the crowd. You'll see him kicking out there tonight.
That was brutal.
Penn State has the day off. They got Kevin Kelly. They got no problems with kicking over there, the lefty. But coming up, the Nittany Lions after this bye week at Iowa, and the Hawkeyes have been something of a nemesis. Penn State's lost 5 of the last 6. Iowa's got a very good defense, not much of an offense, but it might be another ugly Big Ten defensive showdown like Ohio State. Now, they've never lost to the Hoosiers given to Happy Valley, and you don't figure that's going to happen this season.
No,
then,
sir.
A lot more than that big old land-grant trophy at stake, perhaps, when the Spartans come to Happy Valley. Penn State's never lost to them at home. So those are the 3 games. It's very manageable after that landmark win against Ohio State in Columbus. Darryl Clark, the quarterback, was knocked out of that game with a mild concussion. He's enjoying his week off at home in Youngstown, Ohio, and he joins us on the phone. Darryl, first of all, how's the head feeling, and how's the offense feeling? You got out of there with a win, but that was not the way Penn State's played offense all season long. You guys get back on track next week at Iowa.
Well, yeah, I think so. And first of all, I just want to say my head is doing fine. Been cleared. I'm ready to go on Monday. But I think our offense is in high spirits. You know, some games are going to be in tough defensive battles, but we were able to get the job done, and Pat stepped in, and he did a good job with running the offense, and we were able to get the win. So going into next week, I think we're up real high. we're gonna take our time and watch the game today, the Illinois-Iowa game, and we'll see what happens after that.
You know, Daryl, you're going to use the day off watching some games, and Penn State fans, you're going to have to do some scoreboard watching. Let's talk big picture now. I know it's one game at a time there at Happy Valley, but you guys are sitting behind Texas, behind Alabama. You got to hope the Red Raiders knock off the Longhorns here. Do you think Penn State belongs to those teams, and do you think Penn State deserves to be ranked ahead of the teams like Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia that have a loss? Because that's a big issue coming up next month.
Well, I feel like everything happens for a reason, you know, and when you think about it, if we don't take care of our business for the remainder of the season, the games that are played throughout the rest of the country really don't make a difference for us. So, you know, we're knocked out of the picture altogether. So all we really worry about is the game that's ahead. You know, we have a bye week this week, obviously, and we're going to focus down on Iowa next week and see how everything works out for us.
All right, Daryl, we'll see if you guys can keep the eyes on the prize and aboard the scoreboard watching. We thank you for joining us. They're to road in the alma mater, Ursuline High in Youngstown.
That's right, baby.
Daryl, thanks for joining us here. Desmond Howard jumps in here. Now we're going to talk about the BCS and Penn State standing in the BCS because it's very interesting. I mean, I think most people believe that the strength of the SEC and the Big 12 is going to put Texas and Alabama #1, but are the Lions safe as long as they keep winning? Because there's a lot of other quality teams that have a loss that believe they belong ahead of Penn State.
Well, I think, first of all, let me make a statement. I think Penn State is one of the best, well-coached football teams and plays well under extreme pressure than anybody else in the country. And I'm going to back that up with the fact that they went into Columbus and beat the Buckeyes last week. I don't care what the score is. Ohio State had lost 3 football games in 7 years there. And they did it with no penalties and no turnovers. Now, nobody can say they could do a game like that. But most important also, if they're undefeated in the Big Ten and somebody else ahead of them has got 1 loss, I think they go no matter what. And also there's the Joe Paterno situation. Oh, Joe is legend. This might be his last year. There's a lot of people out there that like to see Joe get a shot at the national title, especially if he has surgery after the season like it's been reported. I think Penn State will get to the national title if there's only 1 loss teams ahead of them. If there's 2 undefeated teams, no, they won't get there if it's Texas and Alabama.
No, you're right. And they don't deserve to get there. But if there's a 1-loss team, I mean, Joe Paterno is the trump card. I mean, you're going to vote an 81-year-old man's team who's never been there into the national championship game. And plus, if they stay undefeated, then they will deserve that. But when I look at Penn State play, especially last Saturday, I didn't see a great performance. I don't think they're the 3rd best team in the country. Let me tell you why. When they start off the season rolling over Coastal Carolina, Syracuse, and Temple, teams like that, I said the statement game is going to be against the Buckeyes. The way they come out that night is going to tell me a lot about that team. They won the game, but they weren't impressive. Now, Kirk, I would dare to say that Oklahoma State in defeat versus Texas was more impressive than Penn State in victory over Ohio State last Saturday.
I think you have to be careful, in my opinion, for me, when I'm looking at these teams, of looking at them just based on last week, because you went down that schedule. The one team you left out is Oregon State, who took care of USC and Corvallis, and Penn State made Oregon State look like a high school team when they played Oregon State. So I think people who watched Penn State for the first time last week probably looked at that game and said, yeah, they're okay. Not a great team, but they're okay. You lost, in my mind, the perspective of that football game. You had 2 head coaches that are the best in the country controlling the game. They were trying to just hold on and see which one would eventually make a mistake, and Ohio State did, and Penn State won. If you look at every other game that Penn State has played, they look like a team from the Big 12. Darryl Clark and his offense, remember we talked about the high-definition, high-spread offense. Look at what Penn State's doing. Their defense is as good as there is in the country. Penn State does not have to apologize for anything, but guilty by association. The fact that Ohio State got embarrassed by LSU and Florida, I think down the road could hurt Penn State and get into at least a debate with a 1-loss team from the SEC.
You go get the hip surgery factor, exactly. The JOPA age factor. I mean, is anybody really? You think that's important? Come on.
I think it is in the humans, not with the computers.
I think what they do against Iowa is important. They need to get the offense on track against Iowa and look much more impressive.
All they need to do is win.
Next 3 games are huge for them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. How they look is important. This is a crazy system. It's subjective. Every year it gets proven out. It's subjective.
End of the day, they need Alabama or Texas to lose.
Exactly.
That's right. And then if they win out, they're going to be in the national title.
Boy, I tell you what, they have yet another perfect next season and are excluded from the championship scenario.
No.
Well, not going to happen?
Not gonna happen.
I think Bama will go down.
Oh, you can
Penn State will go.
Your pick here tonight's coming up, I know.
Absolutely.
In the BCS, you got 6 non-BCS conference teams that are in the rankings here. It's a big day in the land of enchantment as Utah takes on Los Lobos. They start a very tricky stretch. They play a game tonight, then they host TCU. Short turnaround on Thursday. Rocky Long's Lobos play a tough physical brand of football. Remember, they beat A&M.
Yes.
Yeah. Arizona. They beat
Never know.
Arizona. Yeah. New Mexico State will take on Boise State. They've had a tough time in Las Cruces in recent years. Kellen Moore, the freshman quarterback, has been very sharp. Ryan Winterswick fighting through knee surgery. He's a tough pass rusher. Hal Mummy's Aggies offense, they are decimated by injuries. Boise State really should roll in Las Cruces. And enormous opportunity for Tulsa. #1 scoring offense, 3.9 student David Johnson at quarterback, a first-year starter as a 5th-year senior. Gus Malzahn goes back to Arkansas. He's the play caller for Tulsa. And that Hogs team, coming off back-to-back heartbreaking losses, has been beaten up on defense. Todd Graham told his team, our goal, 14-0. Not just winning Conference USA, going to a BCS bowl game. They've lost 17 straight games to BCS conference teams. They'll have 16 in a row to Arkansas. Graham believes his team has a real good chance to win at Arkansas and win convincingly. But they keep going, the Golden Hurricanes.
I agree with Graham. I think they have a great chance of winning. Yeah, I mean, this team's #1 in scoring, averaging 55.6 points a game. #1 in total yards per game, averaging just over 600. And you look at Arkansas, they're sitting there at 3-5, struggling under first-year coach Bobby Petrino. He's going to turn things around, but not today. Tulsa walks out of there 9-0.
Okay.
You have no idea.
That's what you said last week when I picked Penn State.
Yeah, okay.
Arkansas's played a lot better competition. They lost by 3 points in the last 2 ball games. Arkansas upsets #18 Tulsa. Good win for Arkansas.
Everybody's talking about Tulsa and the way they score. That's true, but they also have one of the worst pass defenses in the country, 114. I think Casey Dick will be the difference in this game. Shootout, points everywhere. Arkansas's athletes from the SEC win it.
You don't think they're going to try to run the ball against Tulsa with that big offensive line, mash them physically?
Run it, throw it, do whatever you want to do.
They're over there giving high fives and stuff. Okay.
Everybody's smug. Everybody's smug until kickoff. Just remember that. You're right. Good point. Good point. All right, coming up, we'll talk about a couple of Longhorns whose dads were roommates in college. Now it's Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley's turn. We'll see why the comparisons end there. And some say the Bulldogs crossed the line last season. Will revenge help or hurt the Gators today? And Todd McShay joins us over in the demo field. Todd, what do you have?
Chris, who says there's no offense left in the SEC? I'm going to break down an arms race between 2 quarterbacks, Florida's Tim Tebow, Georgia's Matthew Stafford, that I would say may be as good or even better than the one we're going to see in the Big 12 shootout here tonight.
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot. Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Visit progressive.com.
Jones AT&T Stadium seats about 54,000. They'll try to cram in a few more. Tonight, this game is the focal point for the entire championship chase. Can the Cornhuskers catch the Sooners scoreboard watching, and can Bo Pelini finally deliver a long-awaited signature win for Nebraska's program and get bragging rights over Bob Stoops in the summer barbecues and the bocce game in Youngstown, Ohio? They went to the same high school, Cardinal Mooney there. On the field today, a very important game for the Nebraska defense, but also for the Oklahoma defense. The Sooners have really struggled. If you notice, in the last 3 games, giving up 111 points. Texas, Kansas, and Kansas State all scored on a lot of long plays. Yeah, the Sooners picked off Josh Freeman 3 times last week, but they gave up 3 long pass plays, and opponents have gained 20-plus yards 33 times. That is 80th in the nation. That's unthinkable for a Bob Stoops defense. And they've had all problems, covering kicks as well. Shipley took one back. K-State had a big kick return. So shaky for Oklahoma. Now Stoops says nothing to really worry about on defense. Our defense is on the field a lot because the offense scores so quickly. He's got a point there defending his defenders, but since Ryan Reynolds went out in the last 10 quarters, they've given up 6.9 yards a play. Reason for concern, or do you agree with Bob, not that much reason for concern?
Well, I think if you look back at it, Coach, I think this has been a pattern that we've seen out of Norman in the last 3 or 4 years, where their pass defense it has mental breakdowns and gives up some big plays. What I looked at is they're third in the nation in sacks.
Yes.
So when they get to the quarterback, obviously, they're as good as anybody in the country. The problem is when they don't get to the quarterback, they give up big yards. And Joe Gans will make them pay for that today. I think Joe Gans will have a big day throwing. The problem is Nebraska's not going to be able to stop Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator from Oklahoma. His scheme might be the best in the country. Oklahoma wins this game, but I think we're going to continue to see that secondary struggle.
You know that Joe Gans, he scored 30 touchdowns in the year in the last 11 games. The guy can throw the ball. I agree with you. They'll score Nebraska, but they can't stop that Oklahoma. Oklahoma scores at least 2 or 3 touchdowns more than they do.
They're the best offense right now.
It could be. It could be.
You know, the Huskers have had 30-plus 7 out of 8 games. Oklahoma has never given up 30-plus points 4 games in a row in school history. Could happen. They still got to play these guys, right?
And Oklahoma State, my friend.
Hey, are we awake in Lubbock? Wake up, folks. Come on. Texas. We'll pick the games. We'll break the game plan down. The Generals coming out. Upset alert. And we'll talk coming back. What's wrong with the offense at USC? Great D, very little low right now.
Gillette Game Face is brought to you by Gillette. Visit GameFace.com for a chance to win huge prizes all season long. Here's today's Gillette Game Face.
They are called the Saddle Tramps, and I know that has all kinds of connotations, but these guys are the Saddle Tramps. They've been around for a half-century, our Gillette Game Faces. We thank them for joining us this morning. Well, Pete Carroll loves his Halloween pranks, and this was the practice yesterday for the Trojans in Los Angeles.
Look at him.
Will Ferrell, big SC man, shows up.
Oh, my God.
He's like to get the Red Raider masked man. He's putting out fires in his Speedo. Only Pete Carroll will get his team ready for a game against Washington. Oh, my God. Lunacy. Practice unlike any other.
He's going to lead the nation.
Hey, somebody's been dousing the USC offense. Look at the ugly numbers in the NCAA rank for these things. Turnovers, 54th. Red zone percentage, they are last in the Pac-10, second to last in the country. They have the ball 23-54 per game. Now, they're scoring a little bit. The good news is the defense is dominant and smothering. The best in the country by far. In comes Washington. Ty Willingham officially begins his lame duck status here, 0-9. What's going on with USC's offense? Are they going to get things going?
Yeah, I think so. I think the secret is their quarterback play has been inconsistent. Now, remember, they're spoiled with Bomber and Leiner, 2 Heisman Trophy winners. Well, Mark Sanchez has not played consistently. Really well against Ohio State, and then bad against Oregon State, up and down. 5 interceptions have all been in the second half. When they get the quarterback play set up, they'll be great.
You know, I think, first of all, they're 13th in the nation in total offense. They've been a little erratic. They've had some drops. Sanchez hasn't been as accurate as he was against Ohio State. When I talked to Steve Sarkisian last night, their offense coordinator, and he's very happy with the development and the direction that they're going until their game last week in Tucson against a good Arizona defense. But you're right, Mark Sanchez, I think the biggest mistake he could make is trying to force every play to be a big play. Just let the game come to you, because Lee, against Ohio State, it was like every play was a 20-yard gain. And I think when you try to make every play be a big play, you become your own worst enemy. Right. So, but they're fine.
You don't need many points with that defense. An excellent chance for a third SC shutout this season against the old Huskies. They give it up 1 touchdown in the last 15 quarters, USC. Do you realize there are 2 teams in the Pac-10 that control their Rose Bowl destiny, and the Trojans are not one of them? Oregon State's one of them, and so is Cal.
Those unis.
Cal hosting the Ducks, today, and it's going to be bad weather in Berkeley. Jeremiah Masoli has to avoid turnovers in the wet, windy weather. The Bears are +10 in turnover margin. The last year's finish, that wild turnover, heartbreak for the Ducks. Yep. Javid Best will play. He's going to have a brace in his right elbow. Very intriguing, interesting game, and perhaps some really bad weather there today.
Yeah, that's an exciting game to watch because the speed that both these teams have. And Cal, you know what? They're getting better on the defensive side of the ball, and that's important because Oregon can score in a hurry. But I think the difference is Jeremiah Masoli's running and throwing. I think he's really starting to come into his own with that sophisticated offense. I like Oregon.
I'm going not so fast, my friend, California style.
Okay.
Why? Because Cal is 5-0 at home. This game's in Berkeley, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'm going with the home team.
There you
Cal.
go.
That makes some sense in the Pac-10. If you don't count the Huskies and the Cougars, take them out of the equation.
Yeah, please.
Home teams in the Pac-10 are 25-7.
There you go, my friend.
I knew that.
You got that one.
I'll
give you that one.
We got to get a bailout plan for Washington and Washington State. We do something down there. It's getting rough at the bottom.
Apple Cup. You calling that game? The Apple Cup?
The Apple Cup. Yeah. It'll be a big one there. We'll talk more about the showdown here tonight in Lubbock, the biggest game in Red Raider history. Hear from a couple of Longhorns who are not just teammates and roommates. They're rivals from the old fishing hole, gone fishing, Shipley and McCoy. It'll be interesting. You'll enjoy it. The crowd may not, but I think you will.
Both of us are so competitive that it's a matter of, who shoots the biggest deer, who catches the biggest fish.
Yeah. Oh, catching the dinkers
My
today.
fish could eat your fish.
Yeah, we're coming
Mascot Movers is brought to you by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich.
A cow can kick the ball better than our guy Chris Manross earlier. That's not good.
That's a problem.
Not so much kicking here, but quarterbacking. It's been a factory. Go ahead, big guy. We're waiting on. Never mind. Choked up. Come up. Leach got here, and already here was Cliff Kingsbury, but he finished in 2002 as a third-year starter with 5,017 yards and 45 touchdowns. Second in the nation in total offense. Then came B.J. Simmons. He inherited the throne in 2003, led the nation in total offense, third in passing efficiency. After that came another one-year starter, Sonny Cumbie. Very little drop-off, though. Cumbie, too, led the nation in total offense, 32 touchdown passes back in 2004. Cody Hodges took the reins in 2005. He only finished second in the nation in total offense. A disgrace, but Federers went to the Cotton Bowl. And now, of course, for the last 3 years as a starting quarterback, Graham Harrell, on pace to finish second all-time in NCAA career passing. 14,000 yards tonight is very achievable. 466 and 5 touchdowns against Texas last year. The numbers have been very good against the Longhorns, but the key thing, despite those great stats, 0-2 as a starter, and he wants to fix that because with a great game against the #1 team on national TV tonight, perhaps Harrell taking over the position that Colt McCoy has as the Heisman frontrunner. Now, Colt looked a little bit mortal the last couple of weeks. He had some turnovers, but he was clutch, and he continues to be scary in the red zone. 29 of 36, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception for the guy whose real name is Daniel. He's been going to his buddy Jordan Shipley on third down. 13 of 13 on third down throws to Shipley. But as Tom Rinaldi found, the most important catch these two guys have hooked up on came on a recent Texas off day near Austin.
Spend a day out on the lake with Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley, and it's clear.
It's money time.
The fish are the only ones who need to beware.
You just crossed me up.
I don't care. I'm about to catch that fish.
You're at the front of the boat.
I'm catching that fish.
You're at the front of the boat. You got to cast that way.
McCoy and Shipley are more than just fishing buddies.
Holt looking. Now Watson for the end zone. Caught by Shipley. Touchdown, Texas.
We've known each other since we were little kids. We're really good friends. We spend most of our time together.
We've been roommates for the last 2 years. The communication that we have on the field is the same way off the field. Did you get a haircut?
Yeah.
When?
Got the old ears lowered.
The McCoy-Shipley connection didn't begin with Colt and Jordan. It actually started a couple of decades ago with their fathers, Brad and Bob, when they played together at Abilene Christian.
Bob and I showed up in Abilene about 25 years ago as freshmen in college. We got to be close friends and ended up being roommates before it was over.
Those guys really do a lot of the same things Brad and I did, the hunting and fishing, and a great friendship throughout the college.
According to the dads, the comparisons end there.
We weren't near the athletes that our sons are. I'll tell you that right now.
Both of us were called a lot of things in school, but being outstanding athlete was probably not one of the things we were called.
At Texas this season, the current McCoy-Shipley combination has produced 10 touchdowns.
The fade to the corner. Touchdown, Shipley.
Many based on personal connection as much as play calling.
When you're around somebody that much, you kind of know their tendencies and stuff like that. And I think he knows where I'm going to be, and I know where he's going to throw the ball.
That comes from throwing in the summer, throwing at night, all the time, and we're on the same page. that makes our offense that much better.
Oh, yeah. Oh, catching the dinkers.
My fish could eat your fish. Right now.
Oh, man, this is no good. At least we're catching something.
That's my fish's grandbaby.
On the field or on the lake, Colt and Jordan never stop playing.
I'll have to say that I think I'm probably the better fisherman.
Hold on now.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
I have to say me, of course. I'm better than that. I know that fish has got to be over like 2 pounds before you keep it.
We're always kind of picking at each other from time to time. That's just part of being friends and what friends do. I don't know what you're talking about right now. I'm just trying to get over here so I can fish.
Colt's more of a cat fisherman, and we're told that Shipley's a bass guy, but of course here in Lubbock they are partial to Graham Harrell. A lot of subplots tonight, and this quarterback thing is certainly one of them. McCoy and Shipley try to reel in a 4th straight win over an opponent ranked in the top 12. Exactly one team in the history of college football has ever done that. Notre Dame in wartime football. They completed that gauntlet by getting Iowa pre-flight. Went out and got knocked off by Great Lakes Naval Station the following week. This is a very big test emotionally and physically for Texas tonight. It's the first true road game in that 4-game gauntlet. Meanwhile, Texas Tech just beginning its gauntlet. They are on the edge of perhaps long-sought national respect and a landmark win tonight. The West Texas Wackos are all the way behind their team. And Lubbock, trust me, has gone loopy.
Lubbock, in my opinion, is probably the toughest place to play in the Big 12. Man, it's electric, and that's an understatement.
You got the enthusiastic college atmosphere mixed with kind of an NFL atmosphere. You have people with props, masks, and face painter, chest painters. Here in Lubbock, it's almost like the Australian outback.
It's fun. Their fans are great. They love their team. They hate Texas. So it'll be pumped.
They're in the way of our goals. I mean, I'm sure we're in the way of their goals. I think they hate us a lot more than we hate them.
We've been waiting for this, all year. So, I mean, before the season, everyone's like, hey, beat Texas, beat Texas, beat Texas.
They have a great football team. They're fired up. They're undefeated. I mean, that makes it a huge challenge for us. We know we have our hands full, but we're looking forward to it.
Now they'll be tossing around tortillas tonight. Kind of a close call whether they hate the Longhorns or the Aggies more here. Tonight they hate Texas more. Desmond is back as we break down this ball game on both sides. Starting first with the offense. You realize that Texas Tech has had 15 touchdown drives of 80-plus yards. That's great.
Wow.
Except Texas has had 18 of them. 18 80-yard touchdown drives. They're 1 and 2 in the country in those categories.
Well, Texas Tech, Chris, is number 2 in the nation by scoring an average of 48 points in a game. And one of the most important reasons their offensive line play is sensational at protecting the quarterback, Harrell. They do a great job. Listen to this. Harrell loves to throw the ball to the running backs, and he likes the Shannon Woods. If he throws him a little swing pass and watch him, whoosh, boom, touchdown. But his favorite receiver is my guy, Michael Crabtree. Watch Crabtree here. He's caught a touchdown pass in 11 straight games. This guy is sensational. Now, the Tech offensive line averages 6'6", 326, and you got to give a lot of credit to a coach named Matt Moore, the offensive line coach, because he does a sensational job. They only allowed 1 sack every 131 attempts. They're wonderful at that. Simply put, Desmond, if Texas Tech offensive line protects Harrell tonight, they beat Texas and upset the number 1 team.
Wow, you got this crowd going, huh? Now, there was elite back there. That's good stuff. And you talked about my man, Michael Crabtree. When you look at Michael Crabtree, he won the Biletnikoff Award last season, the best wideout in the country. Now, he has 60 receptions now, and he has over 13 yards per catch. But what I like about Michael is the way he catches the ball with his hands. See how he reaches out? The ball is below his knees, which means it's not eye level, but he still reaches out and catches it with his hands. The other thing I really like about Michael is he's very unselfish. Watch this bubble screen. Michael's right at the top blocking the corner. He blocks him so well that he takes him out of the picture. That's what you like to see your superstars do. The best player on the team is very unselfish, Kirk, and he shows that by the way he blocks on the field and plays like that. That's why Michael Crabtree is my favorite receiver, pure wideout in the country.
Yeah, it's great to hear you talk about his blocking too, Des, because he's a total all-around player. He's not just out there trying to collect touchdowns. Well, this Texas Tech offense, you just heard from these two guys, 48 points a game. Graham Harrell completing passes 72, 73% 30% rate. They are almost to the point where they're unstoppable. Texas's defense, what they have got to be able to do is get pressure with their front four. That's the key to this football game, and they've got plenty of athletic ability up front. How about Henry Melton last week stepping up against Oklahoma State with 2 sacks? Now, here's something interesting with the injuries that they've had. Curtis Brown stepped up last week. Oh, by the way, welcome to the starting lineup. You have to guard Des Bryant from Oklahoma State. Held him to 6 catches, did a great job. And the depth of that secondary will be tested. You need fresh legs to be able to defend Graham Harrell. And I think that's the key, is the athletic ability, disguising the coverages by Texas, and getting pressure on Graham Harrell with 4. If you have to blitz, you're in trouble. You got to be able to get it with 4.
Meanwhile, last year's game, Texas's offense had the ball more than 40 minutes. Texas Tech could not get them off the field. Now, they believe their defense is much, much improved, but this is a much bigger test than the Red Raider defense has faced going against the Longhorns offense.
Oh, man, let me tell you something. In the last 5 games, listen to this one, folks. Texas has averaged 50 points against Texas Tech. 50 points, and that's worth a yo. And one of the reasons why they do so well is that quarterback McCoy. Is that guy good or what? He has hit 83% of his passes. He hits Cosby, he hits anybody. His favorite in the red zone is right here in the left-hand corner. Watch this. Woo, nice catch. And now it's Jordan Shipley. This guy Shipley is all over the field. Again, red zone, yep, touchdown. Now, Texas is scoring an average of 46 points a game. We talk about the quarterback, we talk about the receivers, etc. But listen to this stat. The running backs, run and catch per game, are averaging 173 yards every game. That is a hidden stat that makes Texas almost impossible to beat.
Yeah, it's a great one. And the thing that is amazing, anytime you see a great offense, it's about the rhythm between the quarterback and his receivers. And right now, Colt McCoy and his receivers, it's a lot like what we see from Texas Tech. It's like watching a video game. You have to disrupt the timing. And what's interesting about Texas Tech is they don't blitz a lot. Most teams have blitzed Texas to try to create some trouble for Colt McCoy. Brandon Williams, number 84, will have to have the game of his life coming off the edge, and he leads the team in sacks. Now, if Texas spreads you out, they still want to run the football. Can Texas Tech in space on AstroTurf against great speed from Texas be able to stop Texas's running game? And then, of course, creating turnovers. Darcel McBath last week came up with 3. Texas Tech, that is an important key in this game. They're third in the nation with 14 interceptions. They have to get possessions back to Graham Harrell, and the way you do that is you create turnovers. And Chris, they're almost one of these bend but don't break type of defenses. So if they're going to give yards up, it comes down to Texas executing in the red zone. Texas Tech has to make Texas kick field goals. You can't give up touchdowns, or you'll lose in a shootout.
Well, I agree. Not much work for the punters here tonight. It's trying to get turnovers and extra possessions, and Colt McCoy does not want to fall in a 21-zip hole like they did last time they came to Lubbock. They had eventually came to won the game, but not against this improved Texas Tech defense. I think the intangibles, the mentality, so important to this game. We've seen signs that this is a different Red Raider team, that they are ready to step up and get this landmark win. We know Texas has been battle-tested, Desmond. You're first up predicting the outcome of tonight's game here. They're listening.
Coach laughing at me over there. We know, Coach, you're on a good point. I think the offensive line is going to be key. Now, when you look at Texas offensive line, they're big, and they're not going to let Texas cross their face. That's what happened against Missouri, and that's why Texas dominated Missouri. That won't happen tonight because they have 2 very good running backs, Shannon Woods and Baron Batch. They have to respect that running game. So tonight, I'm picking the Red Raiders to upset the Longhorns.
In that case, I'll come in here. Otherwise, that's what's going on that side.
Red Raiders. Yeah. Old Ted's picking the Red Raiders.
Yeah, if that happens, the championship chase will be shaken up here tonight. A whole lot of teams around the country rooting for Texas Tech to knock off Texas. We got football at the top of the hour on ESPN2. Here's Tim Brewster, former Mac Brown assistant. The Golden Gophers are 7-1 as they welcome the beat-up Wildcats of Northwestern. Lee, we have the predictions coming up, my friend.
Absolutely, sweetheart. Are we on the brink of BCS chaos? We'll tell you who we think is going to be on upset alert. Hope you guys have got a good one, because I got one great one.
Well, will it be Bevo or the big old Red Raiders sitting atop the head of LC? Headgear time is minutes away, and the general, Coach Knight, is making his way out to do some picks with us. Come on, movers. Let's go, fellas. Let's go. Stretch them out. Get them ready. Get it up here. I understand this is quite a production. that LC that you put on for us. I'm looking forward to it. And there is Coach Knight, ready to talk college football here with us coming up.
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot. You can do it. We can help. And in part by Pontiac, the official performance machines of the NCAA. Saturday Selections is powered by Pontiac, the official performance machines of the NCAA.
You got the primetime shootout on ABC, but Big Ten football at the top of the hour. Old-fashioned, running it. Javon Ringer having 40 times. Sparty against Clay and Hill and the Badgers and East Lansing. I'm telling you. Get me to tonight. Also coming up at noon, Minnesota. What a tremendous turnaround story. It was an absolute nightmare for Tim Brewster, 1-11. And few people believed he could do what he's done this year. They sit at 7-1 for the guy who was a Mac Brown assistant at North Carolina and at Texas, went to the Chargers and the Broncos, and now he's getting it done in Minnesota. And as you can tell from practice this week, he is wired up as the Gophers go for 8-1 against Northwestern today.
So on the hop, let's go. Here we go. Go to work. Attention to details, guys. Understand how important it is, right? Know if you're supposed to be on, get your butt on, right? You have a great urgency about everything that you do. Hell, if we protect, golly, we're going to hurt him with the pass game, right? Protect. Can somebody beat Nate Triplett down the field? Is there one guy here that can beat Nate Triplett down the field? I want to see it, right? I want to see you beat Triplett down the field, huh? I want to see you beat him down the field, beat him to the tackle, huh? That's what I'd like to see. Just don't reach and grab for it. Chop that sucker out, huh? Chop it out. Hey, De Leon, come here. Hell, you got to have the strength to run through that. All he did was put his hands on you, son, and you went down. Run through that, right? Run through his hands. Be strong. It's all about speed. Hey, Dion, let's go. Details, right? Details. Details all day. Details.
That's good stuff there. I mean, people were chuckling when he was talking about turning things around from 1-11. Coach of the Year candidate. Performance of the Year with the microphone candidate as well. Now, Northwestern's all banged up. Terrell Sutton, his career is over. Bechet trying to play through an injury, but it looks like it's going to be backups for Northwestern. Gophers go to 8-1.
Oh, absolutely. Chris, you know, Minnesota, Kirk, was last in the country last year on defense. 36 points a game. They're down to 17. Assistant coach by the name of Ted Roof, former Duke coach, my candidate for the Frank Broyles Assistant Coach of the Year, done a great job. Minnesota, 2 touchdowns over Northwestern.
They've capitalized on a winnable schedule. That's the first thing. Their defense, all of a sudden, is opportunistic. They're #1 in the nation in turnover margin, and they got a veteran quarterback. So, I mean, that's what they've been able to do. You look at the rest of their schedule, there's a very good chance this team can win 9 or 10 games.
I'm telling you.
What a story. ESPN2, again, at the top of the hour in a few minutes. You guys realize there are 29 games that the experts in the desert believe the underdog is within about a touchdown or less. That's a huge number if you follow that sort of thing. So, time for upset alert. Who ought to be an upset alert today?
Well, I think Michigan State had an emotional win last week against Michigan, bouncing back from their loss to Ohio State. All of a sudden, they're playing Wisconsin, early kick at home. I think the Badgers kind of got things in order against Illinois. I think Wisconsin upsets Michigan State today in an early kick.
And I'm going to give you a special one. Next Wednesday at 8 o'clock, November the 5th, ESPN.
Next Wednesday?
Yes, next. Northern Illinois beats undefeated Ball State and knocks them out of Northern Illinois Huskies win a big one.
We'll have a new president that day.
That's a first, an upset on a Wednesday game.
That's right.
Fallon is sick on Saturday here. The Ducks going to California. I know the weather could be bad. I know the home teams are great in the Pac-10. I just got a feeling that the Ducks might come out of there with a win over the Bears.
All right, we'll see.
Hey, Pontiac game changer. Ooh, you got Lee.
I got the Texas Tech offensive line. Why? Because if they protect Graham Harrell, they will win. They also could run. This guy, Matt Moore, has done a sensational job of pass protection and block. I like his assistant coaching job. Great job.
First time ever, Pontiac game changer for me. I'm going with a quarterback who I think is going to have a great game, but they're going to lose today to Oklahoma.
Whoa,
they're going to lose, but Joe Gans is going to throw for over 300 yards and have a huge game against Oklahoma's defense in a losing effort.
I'm going for a quarterback who's going to win the game, in my opinion. Air Force and Shea Smith, who was a Permian Panther, Odessa, Texas, just up the road here. He's going to go there. The Falcons are going to get down to the U.S. Military Academy. Permian, baby. That's a beautiful segue right here. If you see a game-changing performance today, watch tonight. College football final has the 4 plays. Lee Kirk and I help nominate. Watch on Thursday night and find out which team you voted. ESPN.com, search Pontiac. The winning school gets $5,000 in scholarship money. Speaking of West Point going down at Air Force today, we welcome in our guest picker. He was, of course, a legend at West Point, a legend at Indiana. 5 Final Fours, 3 national titles, 902 wins between Indiana and Texas Tech. His son Pat has a pretty good chance of making it to the NCAA tournament this year. I'm sorry to pick against West Point, but we welcome Bob Knight as our guest picker. And you have gifts for us here?
No, I don't have gifts for you. You guys dress like you're going to a funeral. I mean, this is a football game.
I thought it was a blackout here.
No, you wear sweaters, you wear sweatshirts. This is yours.
Oh, thank you very much.
That'll remind you of all the stuff you got at Ohio State when you were playing there. And you're a poor guy from Florida State, so there's yours.
All right, thank you.
There you go.
And then here's the black sweater
for New York. That's perfect. Thank you, sir.
I expected to come up here and see caskets and a preacher and you guys deciding who gave the best eulogy rather than what's going to win a football game.
We're going to see tonight if it's going to be gloomy for Mike Leach. Yeah. He's an interesting kind of character, a personality that you think is a great fit as a football coach here at Texas Tech.
I think that Mike Leach is the absolute best coach that Texas Tech could have because of the way he plays. You can't play in this league the way Oklahoma and Texas play, and Mike doesn't do that. And I think going beyond that, the guy that gets the credit for Mike being here, and I know what happened when Mike was hired and all that was involved, and if it had not been for Gerald Myers, Mike Leach would not be coaching here. And I think Gerald, if you were to have a pick of the century for an athletic director, it would be Gerald Myers picking Mike Leach.
I understand. You guys ready to pick some games? Now, speaking of picks of the century here.
Yeah, but hey, I'm ready to pick games. But Fettig, Lee gave me 2 hours to do this, and Jimmy the Greek took 10 days to do it. I mean, how can I do this in 2 hours?
You can do it. You can throw it against the wall like they do over here on this side of the stage. I promise you can get that done. West Virginia and UConn, it's a Big East game. Who do you like?
I think West Virginia is going to try and get back where they were last year. I think UConn has done more to develop itself as a football school than any university in the country in the last 50 years.
But you like the Mountaineers?
Oh, yeah.
Not so fast, my friend. I've been waiting to do this for 10 years. Not so fast, but I'm going with Connecticut because Connecticut is 4-0 at home, and the game's in Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going with Connecticut over West Virginia.
I'm going to tell you this.
I'm going Pat White in West Virginia.
If Corso would have listened to me when he was at Indiana, he'd be working toward the Super Bowl right now.
That's true.
I got West Virginia, Pat White.
Okay.
UConn can't stop
West Virginia.
Pat White.
I got a Connecticut.
Yeah. Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Stull, the quarterback for the Panthers, a little bit nicked up. It's in South Bend. Who do you like?
I think that Notre Dame has to win that game. I think they're trying to get back some of the prestige they've lost. I think that Wanstead has done a really good job at Pitt, but Notre Dame's going to win at South Bend.
I always knew you knew what you were talking about. I'm going with Notre Dame, but I'm going with closer than the experts think.
Okay, I'm going to go with Notre Dame and Jimmy Clausen, just continuing to make plays, getting better and better against that Pitt pass defense. Jimmy Clausen, huge day today.
Two teams that have really struggled in the Big Ten, Michigan and Purdue. It's Joe Tiller's final season, Rich Rodriguez's subpar first season. Can an Indiana guy, can you possibly pick Purdue in this game?
Michigan's got to win. If they don't, they're going to blow up the stadium.
Yeah, it's gotten to that point. You're about right.
Purdue's hungry for a win, too.
I hate to do this. You know this. I'm going Purdue to win a football game.
How can you do that?
I don't know.
How can you root for him to win anything?
Because Indiana fired me. That's why. Purdue wins a game.
I'm going to go Michigan. I think Brandon Minor running, Stephen Threet running. I think Michigan upsets Purdue.
Hey, Indiana fired me, too.
Congratulations.
We got to pick it up here. Northwestern and Minnesota. Who do you like there?
Minnesota. You guys were talking about the job they've done at Minnesota, and they're playing it at home, and I think they're going to be probably the surprise team of the year.
Agree, 100%. Minnesota, two touchdowns.
Minnesota, confident football team. I think that's the difference today against Northwestern. Northwestern's too banged up to beat the Minnesota.
Tulsa's lost 16 in a row to Arkansas, 17 in a row to BCS conference teams. The Golden Hurricanes get a landmark win in Fayetteville today.
17 in a row to Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm going Arkansas also. And you know what? That's an upset. Arkansas upsets Tulsa.
It's unanimous here. I'm going with Arkansas, too. I think it's the SEC the athletic ability against Tulsa. Casey Dick, huge game today.
You guys are elitist. Triple not so fast. Golden Hurricanes go to Fayetteville.
Can I back up on this a little bit?
Very quickly.
I hate to have Corso and Herb Street agree with me on anything. That worries me. Their record worries me.
It should. Utah and New Mexico. It's in the Mountain West.
Utah. New Mexico's going to try for an upset. They're not going to get it. Utah's too good.
Absolutely. Utah.
Utah defense against a one-dimensional New Mexico. I like Utah.
Nasty weather in Berkeley. The Ducks against the Bears.
The Pac-10 can't even begin to compete with the Big 12 and the SEC in football right now. So these are two teams that are struggling to kind of be in consideration for a bowl game at the end, and I think playing at Berkeley, Cal wins.
Exactly why I'm picking them. Cal, 5-0 at home, Bobby. You didn't know that. Cal beats Oregon.
Double not so fast. I'm going to go with
see.
Oregon's running and throwing of Jeremiah Masoli. I think he's going to have a huge game today. I think that's the difference today. Shootout.
You talk about conferences that are struggling in balance, and the ACC, hard to figure out. Florida State goes to Atlanta to take on the Jackets.
Georgia Tech hadn't beaten Florida State since 1975, and that was about 30 years after Corso was playing at Florida State. He and Burt Reynolds.
That's right.
And yet, you look a lot like Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, that's right.
And yet, Georgia Tech wins today.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
No, I disagree with you. Florida State upsets
What
Georgia
a shocker.
Tech.
What a shocker.
That's upset.
I'm going with Coach. I think Georgia Tech's great defense. We're going to find out really how good your Florida State offensive line is.
They'll be all
I
right.
like Georgia Tech today playing at home.
Everybody buried Virginia. Terrible start, but Al Groh has turned it around. Cavaliers on a winning streak. They went to Miami and embarrassed the Hurricanes in the Orange Bowl farewell last year, but the Canes get payback today in Charlottesville.
They got beat 48-0 by Virginia last year, and they're talking about, boy, this is going to be a payback. That's something you media people use. Really overuse it, because Virginia beats Miami.
I thought you were in the media now.
No, I'm a consultant.
I agree with the coach again. He knows what he's talking about. That guy's really good.
Well,
Virginia beats Miami.
You guys talking about a lot of these Coach of the Year candidates.
Yeah.
If Al Groh keeps this going with Virginia, I think he needs to be considered after the way they started. But I think Miami wins this game today. I think it's important for them to be able to get this thing turned around. They had a big win last week. I like Miami.
You've heard these guys talk about quarterbacks and X's and O's, the mindset in Jacksonville, Georgia, and Florida, Urban Meyer, and all that payback stuff, what Georgia did last year. What's the key factor, and who wins the showdown of the cocktail party?
Florida's won 15 of the last 18 games with Georgia, and I don't think that's going to change today, because I think Florida has been a little bit better. I think they've improved a little bit better. Georgia gives up a lot of points. They can't do that today.
I agree with you 100%, and the kid's name is Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin wins the game for Florida.
The guy's name, I think, also is Tim Tebow.
Yes.
Last year, Georgia did a great job of stopping Tebow. He was injured. He's healthy. This offense is clicking. I think Florida gets revenge today against Georgia.
All right, time now to pick this game. Can Texas make history? Can they beat a fourth team in a row that's ranked inside the top 12, been done again once in history? Or is the biggest home game and game period in Texas Tech football history end with a much sought-after respect win over the #1 team in the country? The first ever win over a #1. Kirk, you, Brent, and Lisa will call the game, so no pick, but a key.
Key is obviously with two quarterbacks that are playing the way they're playing right now. I think that the most important thing for both defenses is disrupting timing and rhythm from Graham Harrell from Texas Tech and Colt McCoy. Whichever defense can do that, the emotions of Texas Tech or the athletic ability up front for Texas, that'll be the team that gets out of here with a win. Up front on both teams on defense.
All right, now it's time for you. And this would be the upset of the century.
Yeah,
if you throw hook 'em horns in the air in front of these people here in Lubbock, Texas.
Hey, there are a lot of people at Texas I like, but this isn't the time for that. I deeply hope we beat their ass today.
All right.
Now, let me tell you this.
Let me tell you something, Coach. You are the world's best basketball coach, and you're almost the best picker. Give me that hit here. Right here. Let me see what's going on. What do I got here?
Oh, my God.
This will do it. Go take a sack. You got him. Go Texas Tech. 2 guns.
I don't think I can hear you. If you you can hear me. ABC has this game 8 o'clock Eastern tonight, 7 o'clock in Lubbock. Big Ten football on ESPN at ESPN2. Bob, thanks for joining us.